The mini essay is one idea on one page of at least 100 words and less than 300. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that's it. You can write them, they're simple, they're easy, they're fantastic. And what's more, when you write them in a tool like Obsidian where you can link them to each other, you create something really amazing, an idea-verse of your own thoughts that grows in value with you over time. Now, if you're feeling stuck on that treadmill of just reading and consuming other people's writings, so much so that you barely write yourself, then the mini essay might be one of the most important tools to help you unlock those sticking points and start writing some of your best work. In this walkthrough, I want to share with you the benefits of mini essays, 3 ways that you can kickstart your writing of mini essays, and 3 examples with workflows of essays that I wrote myself. Are you ready? All right, let's go. Okay, before I show you how I have written mini essays and how I write mini essays, we have to talk about the benefits. Why even write them in the first place? And it really boils down to 3 things. The first one is it optimizes for the generation effect. Now, this is what a bunch of research has shown us, that the generation effect, when you write something in your own words that you're learning, it leads to improved comprehension and improved recall. 2 really valuable things. Now, the research doesn't say this, but something that creators and writers know in our bones is that when you write something, you don't just improve comprehension and recall, you actually catalyze more insights, you generate more meaning, and you actually develop a bit of an intuitive sense when it comes to the topic at hand. And all of that leads to this expanding surface area of luck, of happy accidents, of innovative thinking. All this is accomplished by writing your original words, even if they're influenced by something that you read. In fact, they're going to be influenced by the outside world. But what matters is how you take those sparks and go to remarks. And that's what we'll cover in this next bit. And one more, I want to give a shout out to Odysseys, whose YouTube channel really blew up recently, thanks to a few videos, including one on mini essays. And there was another point that's relating to the generation effect, which is when you write something in your own words, like in a mini essay, you uncover the gaps in your own understanding. So thank you, Odysseys, for bringing light to the power of an essay, especially a mini essay. And after this video, you should go watch that one. The second benefit is that we're optimizing for the Feynman effect. This is where the best way to learn is to teach. So if we can put ourselves in an environment where we're crafting a very simple story, just over 100 words with a beginning, middle, and end, we can actually learn faster by having an audience that we're teaching, even if that audience is just us in the future. And number 3, it optimizes for note making, not note taking. If you want to better understand things, put them in your own words with your own insights and experiences. The value of note making is that you get to understand your world better as you're creating meaningful things. It's the best of both worlds. So those are the 3 benefits combined. And why I'm so excited by the mini essay is because it combines all these benefits into the most ideal, measurable piece of work in anyone's knowledge work and even many creative efforts. You know if you've written one or if you haven't. It's fun, it's simple, it's effective, and it has all these benefits. So without further ado, let's go into how we even start the process. It all starts with the spark. Boom, kapow, zap, something resonates with you. You're walking around the world and you say, that's interesting, or that's important. When you do, don't stop there. Don't continue to scroll. That's the bad habit that we all have a bit of in the digital age. We're just on these digital hamster wheels, scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and some way, somehow we have to get off the wheel. And the best, easiest, simplest, funnest way to get off this hamster wheel of consuming too much is to simply say because. That's interesting because. That's important to me because. And whatever you say next, it doesn't matter what you say next. It doesn't matter if it's any good, if you even like what you say next. The point is that you go from leaning back to leaning forward. You're active, you're engaged, and you're thinking and writing in your own words. That's how we go from spark to remark. That is the value of note making. And it's the start of something meaningful. It could be the start of a mini essay. So in this next section, I want to cover the 3 techniques that can kickstart your actual mini essays. Let's go. Now you've found something that sparked with you, you've captured it, you've put it into a note, and you've even added your own remarks. So you've gone from a spark to a remark and you've said why it's interesting. But you might be thinking, well, how am I supposed to write something that has a beginning, a middle, and an end? And I think that it's helpful to just have a few frameworks to get us rolling faster, to kickstart our efforts. So I want to share with you 3 fast ones and then give you actual examples of how I use these in actual mini essays that I've written and shared with others. So these 3 techniques can be boiled simply down to experience, opinion, and event. So the first one is experience. You might start your essay by saying, there I was, 10,000 feet above the air without a parachute, wondering how I got there. Well, okay, we're hooked. We want to know what's going to happen next. So assuming something like that may have happened to you, we're in, we want to know what's going to happen. That's a good start to an essay. And all we're talking about is you sharing a personal experience. That's it. Just start with an experience, but lure us in, hook us with that. So that's number 1, experience. Now, number 2 is one of my favorites, and that's opinion. So actually starting with just a really strong statement. You might say, strong statement, and it's important because of this. Now I'm going to share why and give you a couple takeaways. Boom, mini essay's over. I think I lean on the first 2 a lot, experience and opinion, but the third one I'd like to share is event, where you can simply say, on this date, this happened. It's important because of XYZ. I will share the reasons below, and then I will also provide a couple takeaways. Boom, you're done with a mini essay. And remember, the whole process of the mini essay, you're improving your comprehension, your recall, you're finding gaps in your understanding as you're catalyzing new insights, generating connections, and creating some of your best works. All this is happening just because you put the right forcing function in front of you. A simple essay that's based on one idea on one page, just over 100 words, up to about 300. Now, of course, there are plenty of more ways to kickstart your essay writing efforts, but these are 3 that I like to go to. And I want to share with you 3 actual examples, workflows all the way through with techniques along the way about how I did this myself. Are you ready for that? I'm about to share my screen, so let's get into it. Okay, we're in. You can see how I wrote this in my Ideaverse in Obsidian. This is a single note. It has a bunch of different links. We'll ignore those for now. We're going to go down to the new section, how I wrote 3 different kinds of mini essays. Let's just hop into it. The first one is based on experience. This thing happened to me. So the sparks here were, I went to watch Dune Part 1 and I was hyped up about it, ready to be blown away, and I was disappointed. A couple years later, I go to watch Dune Part 2. I'm expecting to be disappointed and I leave hyped up. So what's this all about? I had this experience. I wanted to write about it. How did I choose to write about it? As a free write. So I'm just going to write loosely about something. I love the free write because it gives me permission just to go wherever my mind takes me. So as I wrote, and this is the power of the free write, I discovered what I wanted to say. That's it right there. It wasn't that the hype was real. It was that hype itself. Hype itself is real. And so you can see what I wrote here. Let me just zoom out like how I would normally look at it. So it's on a single page. And this turned out to be 206 actual words when we get rid of some of the links that if I click into a few of these notes, you'll see that there are some extra words. So we had 206 words. This is a mini essay. It's a story, and it starts with my experience. I just saw Dune Part 2 at this place, and the hype is real. And what I mean by that is hype itself is real. And this was me writing about it, figuring that out for the first time. I didn't know what I was going to say until I started to say it. And in fact, let's see, how do I know what I think till I see what I link is another way that I talk about that to myself. Now, I had free write to insight. I had my insight and it was hype is real. Now I wanted to rewrite it with that Kickstarter in mind. So once I knew hype is real's like the big takeaway for me is I wanted to write with my newsletter in mind about this experience. And that's what I came away with. So if we just really quickly reflect on the techniques, I had an experience and I chose to free write. A free write led to an insight. That insight led to me wanting to rewrite. So if we look at this mini essay canvas, I just spun up something very basic for us. This is the basic process. You have a spark, you make some remarks, you free write. That's going to lead, well, actually, let's go to this one. That's going to lead to an insight. Insight is something you can rewrite with an audience in mind, and boom, mini essay is complete. So that is number one. This is an actual practical example. Can you see how you could apply this yourself? Just as a quick recap, start free writing about something. As you write, you'll discover what you really want to say, and then write about that. The second essay is about opinions. So if the first was an experience, this thing happened to me, the next one is, here's a strongly stated thing. So for me, this was where somewhere on the interwebs, people were talking about AI and saying that eventually it will feel as mundane as flying in an airplane after you've done it several times and all sorts of things. So my initial remark was, it's kind of like there's this magic to mundane meter. I was like, write something about this. And so at the start, and I actually have something ready for you from a keynote I did. So all I had at the start was just something I wanted to write about. And then later on, a day later, a week later, I expanded it with bullets of things I wanted to say. And then I sat on that for a while until I came back to it and started linking to other ideas in my PKM system, my Ideaverse. One was that compound interest is like magic. Another was this famous quote from Arthur C. Clarke that you can see here. So what happened? What was the process with writing this mini essay? First, I made that remark, and then I played Garden Master. So I just showed you some slides. And what's powerful with this is that you can capture something that's a spark. You can make some remarks, and then you can have it be buried for a day, a week, a month, years. And then something happens. And those sparks were embers smoldering. And then with a sudden ignition, these ideas take a life of their own. And then I jumped back into it. I was like, the magic to mundane meter, let's explore it. Let's add these links. And so that's when I added compound interest, and any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And I felt like I hit something internally. I hit this critical mass of energy where these idea embers could ignite into their own essay. You'll feel that too. You'll know when that moment is if you're writing things similar to this. When that happens, we go from Garden Master, just kind of walking around, pruning, adding this and that, to linking things, link to ignite, and then getting to the rewrite with the Kickstarter. And on this one, it's all about the opinion, baby. Here's a strongly stated thing. So in this case, as I was writing, I eventually found out that what I was trying to say, and it took me this whole thing to write about until I got to the end, it was actually the last sentence that gave me the title to the piece. So I had to write the whole thing until I knew what I wanted to say. And it was that curiosity is the cure to the mundane. These things don't have to become mundane over time. I can this day, in fact, today, you see that I'm somewhere else. I actually flew from LA to Atlanta today. So I was on an airplane and I was looking out the window. I was taking a couple photos like it was my first time ever in an airplane. So even the most mundane can become magical again with the missing ingredient of curiosity. I wanted to write about that. So my technique, spark to remark, Garden Master, link to ignite, and then rewrite. And it was just because I captured something that sparked. I loosely gardened, I loosely cultivated these notes, especially by linking, and then something ignited and I wrote about it. The bonus benefit of this is that these types of mini essays can lead to brand new efforts. It might be a published piece. In my case, it might even be a bigger thing that it develops into, even when that's not your initial intention. That's the power of writing, and writing something easy and effective and simple like a mini essay. The last one, an event. So now we're going to write an essay where we just focus on something that happened. So the spark was last year, LeBron James broke the NBA scoring record, and that was held by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And I remember watching it live, and they paused the game. It was like, what's going on right now? Like there was basketball, and then for the next 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, it was a ceremony for maybe 25, 30, I don't know. There was just a ceremony on the court in the middle of a basketball game to celebrate LeBron James breaking this record. Now, because I read up on it afterwards, the YouTube algorithm fed me when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar broke the scoring record in '84. And that was such such a more quaint experience. They didn't stop the game. They waited till they were back in Los Angeles in a Lakers home game. And then before the game, they had a bit of a ceremony. And so I found that this was 39, 40 years had passed, and it was such a different experience. So it made me want to do research, and I did a tremendous amount of research. You can see this note has 2,000 words. I'm exploring all sorts of topics. I'm exploring avenues, ideas. A lot of this hasn't gone into any outward form, but it's really informed me when it comes to the dynamics of sports and sports leagues, how they evolve over time, and the relationships between not just players, but players between generations. All of this from this curiosity from LeBron scoring, breaking the scoring record. And I was able to finally summarize it with a really fantastic title. LeBron's a billionaire, but Kareem got a sound system. And that's because during Kareem's ceremony, the NBA gave him a sound system, and it sounds just so quaint that that's what he was rewarded. And they didn't have to give LeBron anything because he's already got 300 million from Nike. And he, as of 2022, he's a billionaire. So all these different thoughts are encapsulated in this great mini thesis right here. All of the intergenerational things. And it ties into strongly. And what I'd put here for myself is C, and then I'd hit NBA is built on the shoulders of giants. And I even have a statement here that I didn't finish, but there it is. Load management is chopping it down. So the giants of Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and then especially Michael Jordan, all of those giants have led to today when, let's not talk about LeBron James, let's talk about his teammate, Austin Rivers, who for his first few years in the NBA he started out as a bench warmer, and yet he was making as much as Kareem would make if he was playing today based on his 80s salary. That's nuts. So low-level players in today's NBA are making what stars were making comparatively, relatively, 40 years ago. The NBA is built on the shoulders of giants, and load management is chopping it down. Do you see the power? We have a strongly stated mini thesis as the title. And then the introduction is about LeBron James. So if we go back to this one, in February of 2023, LeBron James did this. They stopped the game. It was a huge deal. So it's not the best intro, but it does touch on the idea that we're starting with an event. This thing happened February 2023. So what we're doing here is name it to frame it. That's the big technique where I figured out a way to capture so much in a single sentence. And then I could rewrite it and do all sorts of great things. But the big technique here was naming it to frame it. And so the recap, and why I have this tab open too, is at the end of the day, the mini essay is the best unit of measurement that I'm aware of right now in knowledge work, in the creation of intellectual capital, and in many of our creative endeavors. And here's all you have to do. Just talk about one idea, keep it to a page, and do at least 100 words. That's it. One idea, one page, 100 words. And the best way that I like to go about it is that you're just writing about something that's interesting. You talk about what the takeaway is, and through that process, you'll discover the title. That's the order. Do the title last. Just talk about what's interesting, what's the takeaway, and what's the title. So free write to insight, spark to remark, and all the other techniques that we covered in this video, they're part of my workshop, Writing Original Works. And that's where participants learn and create their own reliable process using notes to write original works. If you want to learn more, check out the link in the description below. Okay, so writing a mini essay is one of my favorite forms of note making because what else allows you to make notes that force you to learn deeper, generate insights, and accidentally create some of your funnest, proudest, and best work? As soon as you start making notes and not taking notes, and especially as you write these mini essays, you'll start to notice that your mind is sharper, your insights multiply, and especially your curiosity is nourished. And I think some of you will start to wonder why you spent so much time trying to figure out the dogma around Zettelkasten when all that stuff is making you feel like you're doing it wrong. What you need to do is open up a note, talk about an idea, keep it to about a page, and write it in your own words. Link it to other stuff, share it with future you, or share it with other people. That's the process. Link those notes together over time and really amazing things will happen. And it's that last point. If you want to create a connected web of ideas of your knowledge and Ideaverse, check out this video series where we get into it and you can learn how to create your own. And until next time, write mini essays and stay connected.